Okay, go ahead, Will, if you can pass it along. Hello, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to hop on to this live demo. My name is Ishmael. I'm in sales development here for Threekit. I'm also joined by my colleague, Will Thompson, a solutions engineer here. So I'm going to be leading the front half of this, and then Will's going to take over about halfway through. We've got a lot of neat demos lined up to cover with you guys, but overall, we're super excited to have this opportunity to cover some great information around 3D configuration and customization for custom apparel and suits. So without further ado, let's get started. So I think it's important to call out why we're all here right now. Over the past few years, perhaps you've heard more about 3D and customization for your brands online. So let's look into why this is happening. Take a look at our digital landscape: Facebook, Instagram, and now the new rage, which I haven't really gotten into yet, but TikTok. What do all of these revolve around? Visuals. We have become obsessed with visually immersive experiences. So let's dive deeper into this and adjust our focus to the rapidly changing retail landscape. We cannot ignore this shift from brick and mortar stores to online shopping, especially with the current landscape created, unfortunately, by COVID-19, which, by the way, I hope everyone is safe and healthy. This shift is accelerating at an unprecedented rate. Feel free afterwards to ask me about our virtual shopping index to get our insights into how this change is happening currently. So with this new online environment, it's important to call out a recent statistic where 83% of buyers point to not reviews, but product images as the most influential factor in purchasing decisions. Today's online shopper is still obsessed with visually immersive experiences. And this is where it gets difficult for brands to keep up. When you look at how important product images are, it gets even more complicated when we point out that the average online shopper expects to see 8 photos per product. What magnifies the stat is that this number will continue to grow when you take into account that this specific statistic has more than doubled since 2016. So it's important to call out and look at customer expectations over the years. With the evolution from product catalogs to traditional e-commerce and now to social commerce, we've been hit with what is now known as the visual experience gap, where customers have high visual expectations, but brands struggle to keep up using current photography methods. And to bring it all back together regarding custom apparel and suits, let's look at what is mostly being offered by brands today. You'll see on the screen that offering, it's not bad, but it's not going to satisfy this new wave of online shoppers. Today, buyers want to be able to see all of the different materials and fabrics with their own eyes, not just through a thumbnail. And this current experience is missing out on a key revenue source: customization, which Deloitte recently researched that 1 in 4 buyers are willing to pay a premium for a customized good. So now we're going to dive into all the fun stuff, show you exactly what we have that will close that gap at a fraction of the cost of current photography methods. So just to give you guys the layout, over the next few slides, we're going to break up each demo to cover a specific feature of a customer of ours. We'll be covering both personalization and 3D configuration, and we're going to be focusing on a few of our partners: Bamford Watches, Choice, Puka, and Tailored Brands. So Will, I know you're on. Let's show them the cool stuff.
All right, so the first thing we're going to dive into here is an example of Bamford watches. So they wanted to offer a customization experience, and they wanted to be able to drive more engagement online. They have highly personable and customizable watches. And in order to visualize their catalog, it would have been a heavy lift. So let me show you how Threekit came in. Give me 1 second while I pull up this demo here.
And while Will's pulling that up, one thing I wanted to just call out here, Bamford Watch, based out of London, they were born out of a desire to rediscover the lost art of personalization in an age of mass production. So they came to us with a need to be able to show this and utilize this. Sorry to take over the Will, but go ahead with.
Not a problem. Ishmael, can you see my screen okay? I'm looking for your okay.
Yes, you're good.
Awesome. So like Ishmael said earlier, it's the expectation of online buyers to see at least 8 images when they shop online. And like I said, visualizing their entire catalog was a big lift. So this is the first experience we want to show you. As you can see, it's a fully 3D immersive experience. So it gives you a really good, almost in-person look of what this good actually looks like. So what you can do online, which you can't do in person, is configure each individual step and piece. So you can see here, I'm making a couple changes just to the band at first. Everything on this watch, from the band to the dials to the hands, is completely configurable. So what does that mean for Bamford? It would be nearly impossible for them to know every single popular combination to visualize for their store. So in this case, they don't have to produce every item and then photograph it. We allow them to digitally experience these products, which in turn allows them to visualize their entire catalog. So that's all I have for Bamford.
Thanks, Will. Appreciate that. One thing I'll call out, if any of you guys have any, guys and gals have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. If it's specific to a use case or a demo we're showing live, we'd be happy to dive a little bit deeper into that. So with that, another 3D configuration option that we wanted to be able to show was with Choice. They are a New York-based, made-to-order fashion brand for women. What stands about their specific use case was that they have monthly new releases of materials. And what this does is it causes budgetary headaches around photo shoots, and more importantly, actually having to physically manufacture each new jacket just to conduct that shoot. So what Will's going to go over next is showing exactly how Threekit was able to apply all these new materials digitally for them without having to actually manufacture a new jacket or use a physical studio or photographer. So with that, Will.
Awesome. Great. So like Ishmael said, here's Choice. They do leather goods, leather jackets in this case. And when it comes to Choice, a lot of the times what they sell is built to order, right? So I come to the store, I'll create my jacket, I'll order it, and they'll ship it. They can't visualize that because they don't know what I want yet. So Threekit came in, and we allowed them just to provide those visuals to their customers in a very rich experience as well. This is a 3D configurator, and we achieved a really high quality material for these jackets. So the leathers are really leathery. Everything from the space between the arm and the torso of the jacket is configurable. Even all the way up to the collar is configurable. And you can see that we not only can do leathers, we can also do fuzzy or furry materials as well. So this configurator from the perspective of a shopper seems relatively straightforward. I could pick the spots that I want to change, pick those colors that are available to me, and build my coat. But what this did for choice was, like Bamford, it increased engagement, and it also allows them to visualize however many thousands of option choices they have for this jacket. All right, I'm going to pop it back over to our deck here for one or two more demonstrations.
Thank you, Will. And I noticed we had a couple new attendees. Just to give a heads up, we'll be sharing this recording as well, just in case you missed these last couple of minutes. It's all good. Now next, I'd like to up the ante with personalization at scale with Puka. They're a custom hat manufacturer. And a couple things to call out here with Puka's. They sell to sports teams, clubs, offices, and their average order isn't 1 to 2 hats. It can be hundreds of hats. And prior to bringing Threekit on board, the problem that they had was the way they visualized was actually through an online catalog. So it looked like an open booklet, and you just had color palettes of all the different materials you can choose for the stitching, for the brim, for the actual hat, for the interior. And their buyers didn't have enough confidence to hit that add to cart or that purchase option. So they came to us asking, hey, is it possible to upload these hundreds of different combinations of colors and then be able to real-time render them and provide that visual for the customer? Threekit did that. So Will's going to take you through their actual live site now, and if it's handy, Will, I don't know if you wanted to share what their page used to look like. Feel free to do that, but I'll turn it over to you now.
Awesome. Okay, great. So unfortunately, I don't have the other sheet, but it looked like an Excel spreadsheet, options at the top with boxes on the way down. So for instance, if I wanted to select my low crown or high crown, I would check a box and I would move on to the next step, which would be the panel. So keep in mind that when we go through this configurator, before it was laid out horizontally on a sheet where you would just check the box and you wouldn't be able to see anything. So like Ishmael said, these are for collegiate teams, companies. If you've done any kind of swag customization online or ordered anything, you may have seen an interface where you have one static image of a hat. If you want to overlay a text or an image, you would upload it. It would kind of just put it on top of the hat and you'd get a general idea of what it would look like. So I want to build you a hat today and give you an example of what Puka can do with a Threekit configurator. So I'm going to go through just a couple of these steps. I want to show you kind of a beginning and end. This is one of the more robust configurators that we've shown you so far. So I'm going to start with my panel. I'm just going to pick a classic 5-panel hat and make a few other selections here. So on my hat body, I think I'm going to make this a nice gray. Looks pretty good. And again, so this is a very robust configurator. I'm only going to touch on a couple of colors, but look at the list of materials you have here as well. So I can change everything from a flannel to a ripstop. There's cotton, there's heather. There's hundreds of thousands of options that could ultimately be built here. But I'm going to stick with something relatively simple. Okay. So in my hat body, I'm going to just make a couple more changes to the top of the visor. I'm going to make, oops, getting a little excited here. I'm going to make us a little Threekit hat. And this is a very granular configurator as well. So I can get as in-depth as I'd like to be. For instance, this crown stitching, even that little bit of detail I can get into and I can change. It may be hard to see. There is a little bit of quality loss over Zoom, so I apologize for that. but there's our stitching. And even from the bottom of the hat, I can make sure I configure these as well. And like I said, these are personalized, so you can add text or logos for your own company. I'm going to upload an image just to give you an idea of what it could look like with our Threekit logo. Let's make it a little bigger. I want it to be prominent. And there's a pretty simple Threekit configured hat. So this is great. Like I said, I'm in marketing. I need to make sure this is good. So what I can do here after is I can share this configuration and it will give me an end product. So let me show you that as well. So here's what the Puka configuration spits out at the end. I'm in marketing, here's my hat. I'll send it off to everybody, make sure they like it. Oh, can we make the stitching this other color, make it this other color? Absolutely, I'll just go back to the configurator, make those changes in a minute or two. I'll have this new PDF and I'll send it out again. The one other thing to note about this PDF, personalization and customization, it's not a simple thing to achieve from an e-commerce perspective. But this PDF also allows you to prepare your supply chain for manufacturing. So once these orders come in, not only does this PDF get generated to the prospect, but it also gets generated to you. So you can send it to your manufacturers and they can manufacture as many of these hats as you'd like. That was a big demo. It's one of our favorites, but I'm going to pause back and we're going to touch on one more type of demonstration for you.
Cool. Thanks, Will. A couple things to point out. One, Nicholas, I saw your question. I think it's a good opportunity to call this out here. What Nicholas said, guys, was, won't it be a bit too complicated for the end user to have 1,000 different materials to choose, and what the right balance would be? Really, it's up to the brand or the store to determine what that number would look like. In the case of Puka, it was per their request to be able to upload all of the different materials. But the beauty about Threekit is our platform is built to scale. So you can upload as many colors or materials that you'd like, but in real time, you can actually eliminate certain options. So you can go into the back end of the platform and say, hey, for these next couple of months, let's get rid of these 100 colors. Or let's focus on these 100 colors for our spring season. And then with like a flip of a switch, you can either have them uploaded to your e-commerce or to your website or removed. So good question, Nicholas. But as far as what the right balance would be, yeah, but we've got some customers with 10 to 15 and then some with hundreds of thousands, like with the case with tailored brands. So jumping into our last demo. To close it out, we're going to go over customization for suits. Why we think suits is important is because this market is changing. And we've seen it with our partners such as Tailored Brands, who's the parent company to Joseph A. Bank and Men's Warehouse. And we're now seeing it with new partners, Kashiyama, based out of Japan, as well as J-Press. And in the case of Tailored Brands, before they came to us, the company was really struggling with this rapidly changing suit market, because what they used to be known for were, hey, 3 suits for $3.99, you know, where everyone wore suits and they needed a closet full of suits. But that's not the case anymore. And they had to revolutionize, and they had to do it very, very quickly. And what they saw was how personalization is the future. And they realized that someone is willing to pay $1,000 to $2,000 for a fully customized suit. So instead of having 10 to 15, or that maybe that was a bit of an overstatement, about like 5 to 10 suits in their closet, they only need 1 to 5 fully custom, nice, tailored suits. So they particularly sell in store. So they came with us with the problem of, how do we enable our in-store reps to be able to visualize all of these different combinations? And came over to Threekit, and now through our software, they're able to offer up billions of different suit combinations in store through the use of apps, and also enable their in-store staff and increase their overall buyer's experience. With that, sorry, that was a lot. Will, take it over.
Awesome. Great. So this is just kind of like a miniature demonstration we've created. This is a demonstration of Tailor Brands. Like Ishmael said, they're a manufacturer of suits. And just to paint the picture of what virtual photography can do, I just wanted to show you kind of what a miniature shopping experience would look like. So I have my main jacket here, and down below I just have several other images. So you can see there's a high level of detail here: the pocket, the material lining, the inner lining rather, and the exterior fabric. And you can even see the imperfections, the wrinkles, the way the light hits. It just is a very rich visual experience. And when I start making my configuration options, you can see where the changes really start to take into place. The overall shape of the jacket and the placement of these other images is very consistent. It stays the same. So while you're comparing your floral purple interior with your wine material, you can see exactly what that configuration would look like with a bright blue and a surfside interior. Something to note that these images are not images or photographs of real suits. These are made from 3D models. And why does that matter? The number of materials that Tailor Brands has for the inside and the exterior of their jackets runs in the millions and hundreds of millions of available options. So what Threekit was able to do was take their existing fabrics and digitize those real world fabrics and provide these digital representations. So while we may just have a little snippet of this surfside interior, we can digitize that and apply it to the interior of this jacket, to a black pin dot jacket, to a shark skin jacket, and just reuse those components to provide those visuals so they don't have to actually make these jackets, sew them together, photograph them. It just provides a lot of consistency and an experience that shoppers really enjoy now. All right, that's all I have for Tailor Brands. It was just a miniature version, so let me hop back here and we'll get this wrapped up.
Thank you, Will. Okay, so we had another question related to this specific use case. It's from Bruce. His question was, the appearance of different wool blends is very important in suit purchases. How are you capturing a fine wool with a soft texture versus a tweed that has a rough texture? Are the materials done synthetically in software, or what method are you using to scan them?
I can take this one, Ishmael, if you'd like.
Cool.
So there are a lot of different approaches that we can take when it comes to digitizing materials. For the example of Tailor Brands, we do actually ingest real materials that they have and we digitize them. So we have a scanner. There are different approaches that work better for different clients. It just kind of depends. But for Tailor Brands, we are taking real materials and digitizing them, but we're not manufacturing the suits. So I hope that was helpful.
And as far as the method using to scan them, I could get back to you on exactly how it's scanned. I personally am not that technical when it comes to this, but I can definitely connect with you afterwards to cover that as well. Cool. Now, possibilities are endless between these two amazing visualization styles, both allowing you to close that visual experience gap and also provide your online shoppers with the experience that they crave. So I wanted to leave a little bit more time for Q&A, so I'm going to speed through these last two real quick. But just to better understand the people behind this, we Threekit are the global leader in visualization, with our roots starting in Hollywood. So why Hollywood matters is because compared to other visual effects spaces, Hollywood visual effects require cutting edge visuals. And back in 2016, when 3D within e-commerce really began to take off, we shifted all of our focus to providing those same cutting edge visuals to retailers. And these are just a couple of the partners who have trusted us in being their visualization experts. So you're not going to be alone in this journey. With that, I wanted to open up the floor for questions. So either through the chat and or just unmute yourself, we can open this up. Looks like there might not be any questions. Okay, no problem. So just to cover some last steps here, I'll make sure to reach out to you all so you have my contact information, and we can bring up any questions. Bruce, I can go a little bit more in depth regarding our material scanning process and or any other questions that you have. And more importantly, we will have a recording within the next about 24 hours, and we will be sure to share this with you guys. So with that, stay safe, stay healthy, everyone. I appreciate your time and hope to connect soon.
Thanks very much, everybody.
Take care, everyone.